I think we take for granted the lessons that animals can teach us in so many different ways. As an example, one of our horses, he was originally just my partner's horse. So I met this horse when I met my partner, who's the sweetest little thing ever in the world. And he's always been horse herds have a hierarchical system. So there's the alpha horse or the boss or the leader or whoever, and then there'll be number 2 and number 3 and number 4 and however many horses there are. So this little boy Jackson, he's always been at the bottom of the hierarchy. He's always been the one who gets the last opportunity to have the nice patch of grass, who gets bullied when the others are busy sorting each other out. He's in human terms and in our social system, he would kind of be like the the not cool kid in the crowd and the one who's always being bullied. But if you meet him and if you spend time with him and if you spend time with him in his herd, you'll see that he processes and deals with his position, if you want to call it that, very differently to how we tend to deal with challenging social situations. He doesn't take it personally. If one of the horses comes to chase him away, he just moves out of the way to whatever safe distance he needs to until they chill out again. He doesn't get upset about it. He doesn't mope around about it. He doesn't take it personally. He just moves out of the way. That's it. And when I go to visit them, he's not always the one who comes to me first, because usually the others will come to me first, and because he's bottom of the herd level, he is essentially not allowed to come to me first by the other horses. But when he does get the opportunity to come and say hello, he comes happy, wants a cuddle, he gets his scratches. He's not fearful of getting in amongst other horses. He's not fearful of coming to me. He just patiently waits until it's his turn, until he's not going to get bullied for coming in for a cuddle. And I know I'm making it sound like horses are these terribly mean and rude creatures, which they can be, sure, but they're not all the time. This is just some parts of their behavior. But I am explicitly pointing out the kind of worst parts of their natures to show that in spite of this poor little Jackson being getting the brunt of all the bad treatment, it doesn't change who he is. It doesn't change his friendly, sweet, happy nature. It doesn't change his expression and his presence. He's always just calm and friendly and cuddly and a little bit of a doofus, but at the end of the day, I think that it's something that we could definitely learn from. And I know that for a lot of us, when it's like when we want to let that softer, forgiving, playful side of ourselves out, the question always comes of, what if people take advantage of that? What if people take advantage of me when I'm letting my guard down? And that's a very interesting experience for us to be having, especially since that it's at a collective level. Most people feel that way and have these concerns that if I open myself up to a abuse, people will abuse me. And that opening up of self is letting our guards down. And it ties in with an interesting concept that I was discussing with a friend, where in an ideal world, we'd be living the principle of do unto another as you would have them do unto you. In truth, we are actually living it. But ideally, we would be doing unto others better than we are. And at the moment, because so much of the time we're not living our best behavior, we're living kind of worst parts of our behavior, worst parts of our natures, where we're being greedy, where we're only looking out for ourselves, where we're being spiteful, where we're being deliberately obtuse, deliberately misunderstanding each other, things like that. That's what we expect from people. But the reality is that a lot of the time we're living it. And if we're not overtly living it, we're covertly thinking about it within ourselves. And of course, it creates a vicious cycle because everyone keeps doing the same things, and therefore everyone should keep expecting the same behavior, which is that if I let my guard down, I'm going to get hurt. People are going to take advantage. People are going to abuse me because I know, even though I think I'm a good person and I want to be a good person, if I were in their position, I'd probably do the same thing, because everyone is trying to survive. Everyone is trying to protect themselves. Everyone struggles dealing with their emotional states. Everyone struggles with communication. And it's not that we're necessarily deliberately being spiteful and hurtful and nasty towards each other, but just because we don't know how to deal with our inner states, and we don't know how to deal with living in this challenging world system and having to fight for our survival all the time, it's almost as if we don't know how to be any better on a lot of different levels. So we just kind of are expecting the worst all the time. So it's kind of a long-winded video to get to this point. But anyway, so how we can change that is to practice being better within ourselves, practice dealing with our nasty thoughts and spiteful thoughts and things like that before they become nasty and spiteful words and actions, to actually really become those best principles that are taught to us in our cultural heritages, in our religious heritages, in all of the books and stories and things that that people develop and share in an attempt to encourage people to be better. So obviously, since I'm part of the Destiny movement, so for me, what it's about is taking responsibility for my thoughts, taking responsibility for my emotional reactions, my emotional states, because I recognize that my thoughts and my emotions become words, become behavior, and become a living embodiment of me. I become those things. And while there's nice and pretty things within those categories, they're also not at all very nice and not at all very pretty things in those categories. So I have to face all parts of me in order to address them and decide if I actually want to carry on living that. Do I want to allow that nasty thought that I had about that person? Do I want to foster that thought until it becomes an opinion about that person, so that every time I see them, I treat them differently, I speak to them differently, I speak about them differently? So no, I don't want to live that nastiness. Right. So I apologize that it ended up being such a long and rambling video. But I hope that eventually I did get the point across in a coherent way. Thank you very much for watching. You're going to see me next time.